We will get started here. Connie, if you can confirm we are recording.
Yep, we're good.
All right. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning or good evening if you're joining us from a far-flung destination. Sounds like we've got a little bit of reverb there, but thank you for joining us today for our ITSM GoPro session on Workspaces. Just to start with a bit of housekeeping, please just so we can limit feedback or disruptions, go ahead and keep yourself on mute. If you do have a question, go ahead and enter it into the chat. We are standing by to answer those questions. And additionally, we have carved out some time at the end of the demonstration to answer questions as well. Just to start off, my name is Jürgen Cunningham. I am joined by Blake Morales, and together we are going to be taking you through at least one of my favorite productivity tools on the platform, our Workspace. By way of introduction, I am a senior solutions engineer. I am focused on supporting our federal healthcare institutions. I have just a little over 5 years experience working with federal agencies, helping them find innovative technical solutions to their mission execution needs. And Blake, take a moment, please, to introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So yes, Blake Morales here, associate solution consultant. So I spent a lot of time talking to customers kind of in the pre-sales aspect of things, have plenty of experience working specifically with Workspaces and ITSM Pro. So just excited to kind of give you guys a demo today on that aspect.
All right. Thank you, Blake. All right, so this is the third session in our series. Hopefully we have some repeat attendees. This is our Workspace focus seminar. If you joined us for our previous session on predictive intelligence, you got a small taste of our Workspace tool in action, but today we're really going to dig into it. We are going to start with just a quick overview of the role, our holistic role of our ITSM Pro capability set and the role it can play in your digital transformation initiatives. Then I will take you through some of the fundamentals of what a workspace is. And then Blake will do the fun part. She'll take everyone through a demonstration so you can see those capabilities in action. And then to close out, we'll provide some options for next steps if you are interested in learning more about the technology. And then finally, as I mentioned, we will have some time at the end to take any questions that you might have. So Workspaces is what we're here to talk about today, but Workspace is just one part of the broader ITSM Pro solution set. So we just want to make sure everyone is aware of holistically the impact that ITSM Pro can have on their organizations, especially as you're moving towards your digital transformation initiatives. So this slide just breaks down some of the beneficial outcomes our customers have experienced with these tools. The data gathered has been gathered through industry studies, and then our customer data that we have gathered through the many engagements that we have participated in. Today with Workspace, we're going to aim to demonstrate how we can provide that 60% improvement through optimizing your working experiences. So let's kick things off just to make sure everyone's awake with a poll. I'm going to get this going. Just no right or wrong answers here, but just wanted to get a sense if anyone studied ahead on the Workspace capabilities or not. So as we pull this poll up here, just take a minute or two and answer that. We'll give everyone a few minutes here to do that. All right, looks like we have some folks entering here. Yes, this is a really great opportunity to learn a bit about, if you're an existing a customer and you aren't currently using Workspace, the Workspace capabilities, great opportunity to get exposed to that. Or if you're brand new to ServiceNow, I think this is probably one of the more engaging capabilities that we have on the platform from a utility perspective, from a day-to-day perspective. All right, it looks like we've got about half the people answering the poll. Let me give it another 30 seconds here to see if anyone else would like to take a stab at the poll here. We appreciate everyone's participation. Great for us to just get a pulse of people's exposure to some of the technology that we were showing today. All right, great. So let's close this out. Thank you again, everyone, for participating. And as you may have guessed, a workspace. So here's a great summary of the Workspace tool, an employee engagement app that is the single destination to securely access, discover, stay connected, and take action on organizational resources. So a little bit of a wordy description, but as you'll see, I think it does a really great job to distill and summarize what is a very dynamic tool. So let's start with benefits. You know, the benefits of the technology are many, but really these are, you know, from my use and our customers' use, these are really three core benefits that our customers take away when they're using our Workspace technology. First and foremost, that's staying informed and aware. So getting access to all of the data and contextual data that an employee needs in one place to execute the mission. The second piece is that improved productivity that comes by working more nimbly in an intuitive user interface that is designed for multitasking and designed for giving you that situational awareness and getting more things done from a central environment. And then lastly, just the overall giving you the ability to reduce the overall processing time of the work or of the mission that you're executing. So why did we do this? I always love why as a question, but we did this to help the people who work, who most days are for the most part getting things done, but really have to struggle with navigating between so many technologies to find the information that they need, to communicate with the rest of the organization, to try and make decisions, but all the while having a nagging feeling that there really could be a better, easier way to get done what they're trying to get done. And they can feel the minutes and the hours wasted with that, as we've all heard of, that swivel chair effect. And they feel how that's impacting their overall productivity. And then how that nagging feeling really can sometimes turn into dread when leadership or maybe even OIG or heaven forbid Congress calls asking for action or information. They didn't want it now, they wanted it yesterday. And that information, that data, that situational awareness isn't there, it isn't available. So alleviating some of those challenges is really why we spent the time putting together the Workspace solution. So it is a configurable, single pane view of all the data a worker needs. We've buttressed that with AI recommendations and access to contextual data to aid in decision making. And then finally, we integrated communication channels so that the worker can interact with the organization as a whole, all while maintaining access to that critical information that they need to execute their mission. So before I realized I couldn't be a doctor, which was a sad realization for my parents, I was a biology major, and I still have a fondness for the anatomy of things. So here in front of you are the numerable configurable elements of the workspace that can be leveraged to serve your mission. So let's go through these because I think they're interesting and give you a great insight into how we can help with mission execution. So number one, this is our multi-tab and even multi-sub-tab interface. Because at the end of the day, none of us are really working on just one thing at a time. And because we're multitasking at that level, number two is our form header. So this just gives you, at a glance, a quick summary of the record or records that you're currently engaged with. Three, because work is action, these are the actions that can be taken, they configured to help the worker or the employee execute the work that needs to get done. Four is our ribbon. I think this is one of the more interesting components of the workspace. This ribbon can be configured in a number of ways to display analytics or data visualizations like timelines or counters, anyway, to help get a visual representation of the work that's happening in the moment. Section 5 here, this is our custom configuration component. This really allows you, because the ServiceNow is the platform of platforms, to connect with other third-party tools to surface data, to surface information that you need from other technologies that you're using during your day-to-day to get work done. It's a very powerful piece of the platform there. Number 6. This are all the related lists, so all of those related information elements in association with the record or records that you're looking at there, all organized and cleanly highlighted and defined there for you for easy navigation. And then, of course, as you're navigating between these lists, at number 7, you have your form field, so displaying the requisite information related to either the record details fields or the different related lists that you're navigating in and out between. Number 8, this is our activity tracker. This is a great tool for collaboration. So this is supporting either communication or handoff between teammates or employees. This provides a timeline of actions and comments made against the record. So if you have someone stepping in last minute, they have this audit trail of the internal discussions that are related to this record, all the different actions that have been taken on this record, so they can quickly get spun up and start working and as part of the fray more effectively and more efficiently. And the final piece here in section 9, this is our agent assist. So all of that contextual data that we talked about, that is surfaced by our machine learning and artificial intelligence capabilities native to the platform, helps our workers get a much broader, bigger picture of the whole. While they may be responsible for particular records and particular execution, understanding what their colleagues are doing, maybe some past performance, getting updates from the agent assist around related knowledge articles, all of these tools that can give our worker necessary insights to make sure either they're taking the correct action or maybe even gleaning some insights into some work that their colleagues have done for a similar issue or a similar piece of work. So these are the 9 core elements of our workspace. Also included with the workspace is the landing page. So this is great. This is sort of a top-down view of your working world. Here you can surface real-time analytics. You list views, images, text, to sort of design a more effective, efficient look and feel. This serves as a great central command for your day, for your week, for your team, giving you a broader 30,000-foot view of what is going on in your organization. Additionally, the engagement channels that we spoke about. So being able to connect to phone, being able to connect to chat, being able to texts, emails, alerts, all of these things can be accessed, engaged with from the workspace. So again, limiting the amount of time that needs to be spent while it is incremental, in aggregate, those minutes taken sort of bouncing between these different communication channels, checking your email, checking your voicemails, checking your texts. So really just layering some increased efficiencies, right? Making sure all those engagement channels are available from a time save, but also from a connectivity standpoint, making sure that as a worker, you're not missing any critical communications that may be coming through. So while the workspace is configurable, the ITSM Pro has a few flavors of the workspace that come out of the box. First here is our agent workspace. So this is uniquely configured to solve internal or external customer issues faster, more effectively. Next is our service owner workspace. So this is where your service portfolio managers can manage and monitor the different service portfolios that they have, making sure that the business critical services they are responsible for are healthy, and if they're not healthy, making sure they have the data, the intelligence that they need to take the appropriate action. Additionally, for our vendor managers, there's a vendor manager workspace. So this is where those managers can monitor the metrics and analyze the vendor health to ensure that the contractual relationships with the vendors, the performance that when they made this financial investment in this either piece of technology or a service, that that fiscal relationship is being delivered upon. And so having a consolidated view of all the vendor information in one place allows our vendor managers to make smarter decisions, to go back to the vendor and either negotiate or renegotiate terms to make sure that the organization is in fact getting a return on the investment that they've made. And finally, our operator workspace. So this is where our operators can monitor the health of the services, track the events and event management environment, making sure that they have a holistic understanding of all of the services, the health of those services, understanding at a glance those services that may be either at risk or not functioning optimally, and then making sure that they can allocate either the time or the resources and attention to address those issues as efficiently as possible. All right, well, now is the part that everyone's been waiting for. I am going to pass the ball to Blake, who will take you through a demonstration. Blake.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jurgen. That was fabulous. Okay, so really the fun part is to kind of walk you through how we go about utilizing our workspace day in and day out. So just let me know when you're able to see my screen, Jurgen.
I am seeing it.
Perfect. Okay, so when we think about the agent workspace, right, we're thinking about it from an IT technician perspective, a case manager, a service owner, a vendor owner. So we're going to look at a couple use cases today where we're going to, use multiple hats, right, throughout your organization where they may want to utilize the workspace. What you see in front of you is what we call the agent workspace. So as of right now, in the top right-hand corner, I've logged in as an IT technician or case manager, where at the top here, you see all the work associated to his or her day, followed by some key performance indicators that he or she may be interested in capturing. One of the things that I want to highlight is part of those key performance indicators is for him or her to keep track of how they're performing with their day-to-day job. So open P1 incidents are really with regards to those priority 1 incidents that are currently open within the organization today. When we look at incident service level agreements that have been breached, what is the total number of SLAs that have been breached upon the organization? Do we set a rule on the back end where if we're breaching a certain number or a certain amount, we want to make sure that we bring that SLA to a lower KPI, et cetera. And then last but not least, I'm not going to go through all of these, but you'll notice that unassigned incidents has been color-coded in red, basically signifying that there's way too many unassigned incidents within our organization today. So as right now, we need to make sure that we're going to assign ourselves appropriately to those incidents across the team. So let's look at a couple of examples that have been assigned to this technician here. The first example is a case number that has been submitted. This IT technician has assigned himself to the ticket. You'll able to see right at the top hand corner what this ticket is in association to the case. So I have a pending change request. This ticket has been submitted by Carl Bondi. You're able to get her email information as well as any details with regards to this case that has been submitted. So as an IT technician, I may want to understand exactly where this case came about. How much time has this case been open? What are the tasks associated to this case in particular? One of the most important parts about Agent Workspace is the easeability to be able to keep track of your tasks, your SLAs, your interactions, et cetera. And so what you notice is we're not really switching through screens here. And we're drilled in specifically into SLAs. Now, because this is a priority 5 incident, or I'm sorry, priority 4 incident, you'll notice that there's only one SLA associated to this case, which is basically telling us, hey, at this moment in time, we have about 3 to 4 days to resolve this issue. Otherwise, we're breaching our SLA. What you'll notice is that there's actually 193 days that have been elapsed. So technically, this IT technician has gone way over that SLA. In other words, he's breached that SLA. Now, at the top here, we're able to see a timeline, right, of what we've done. What are those details associated to that timeline? So how long we've actually been working on this case for, and then followed by any customer insights. So as Jurgen explained, we're able to pull in other tools and other informations here to say, okay, what is it that we want to bring into our agent workspace that is important to our day-to-day job? And then last but not least, one of my favorite parts is the template functionality. So a lot of the times when we're going through the detailed information, we notice that a lot of our agents don't want to manually type in the same information over and over again. So the ability for you to utilize pre-written or predisposed templates that we're able to go ahead and utilize for this specific case is going to relieve a lot of that workload. In other words, instead of having to manually type in this information, we already have some pre-configured templates that we're able to go drag and drop and utilize from here. Okay, so going back to the home page here, I want to quickly dive into unassigned incidents. So what you'll notice is for unassigned incidents, as a IT technician, as an owner to this workspace, one of the most important parts is to understand what incidents are coming into the system, how are they coming into the system, etc. You'll notice for the incident type, it's come in as an email. Now we're able to keep track of how they're trying to get in connection to us. You'll notice that this is already pre-populating for us. It's all automatically creating this incident for that IT technician to go ahead and work on that incident. He's not manually doing this, right? So we're creating those rules on the back end to go ahead and create that incident on behalf of that technician. The first thing that he's going to want to do is he's going to want to assign himself to this ticket. Now, the ability for him to assign himself to this ticket right from the get-go is him being able to not only keep track of the work that he has, but other people within the organization or within his team are going to say, okay, these are the type of individuals that are working on a set amount of tickets today. In the composition section, you'll notice that this is where you're able to type in comments where everyone can see. So along with the incident that has been submitted, who that owner of that incident is, you're able to type in comments. So in other words, you're able to communicate back and forth with that individual. And you're also able to type in any work notes information that you just want to be able for you to see as well. Agent Assist is where we start to really automate some of the processes that we're doing with regards to actions or remediation options. In other words, there's an incident here related to router upgrade issues. Agent Assist is giving this IT technician a ton of information with regards to the router issues or any type of knowledge articles in order to fulfill this incident or close it out appropriately. So again, all this information is being pulled in from historical data that we've captured in the past about similar incidents that have come into the system with regards to router upgrade issues. Next part about Agent Workspace is the operator workspace. So as an operator, right, I'm going to want to make sure and understand what services not only am I working on, but what are the total services by group, right? And what is the criticality by services? So in other words, what are the services that need my assistance right now? And what are the services that are minor or zero warning state at all? So what you can tell from here is we have 3 critical business services that need our assistance. And as an operator, I'm going to want to drill into those services to understand exactly what's going on with regards to that service. So let's actually drill into order status. You'll notice that there's a primary alert associated to this specific service. So what we're doing here is we're bringing in all that information from your event monitoring tools in one single place where an operator can go ahead and say exactly what's happening to that one specific service. The great thing about being able to drill in from the operator workspace is, again, this multi-tab functionality where we're able to get a topology view of what helps run order status. So when we think about the topology view, that's really a service map. What are the servers or applications or assets that help run that specific service? And once this loads, we'll be able to keep track and understand what is those entry points that help run order status? Where are the areas that we could potentially be running into problems with? So what you'll notice is right here, we see that there's a couple of servers such as the Apache, the Glassfish, and the Oracle server that are highlighted in different colors. Remember, red is high criticality state, minor criticality, and low criticality. When we think about what helps run this order status as an operator, I'm going to want to drill in specifically into that Oracle server node vWin. What you see here in front of you is that there's been an alert, a priority alert that's already been grouped. In other words, there's a lot of sources that have come into the system that are telling us that this specific server is crashing and there's a lot of issues with it. And so what Workspace does is it shows you right here from the get-go that there's a lot of alerts coming in and it's correlated into one single alert. If we remove the correlated alerts options, here's where we're able to see all those sources that we have that are coming into the system. So a lot of the time, our customers are shifting through emails, manually trying to understand what helps run a specific service. With the operator workspace functionality, not only do we have the ability to see it in one single place, but we can keep track of all those alerts and correlate those alerts in one single point. Drilling into that specific alert, it's going to show us everything that we have with regards to those secondary alerts and what those priority alerts are associated to. So here you can go ahead and start to edit that information and start to begin that remediation option, of which from here you see at the top here, right from the bat, we're able to open that workspace and start to begin to take action on those alerts that are coming into the system. All right, so just giving a couple seconds here to load. What you'll notice is we're drilling into that priority alert where it's giving us details on not only what the CI is, the incident associated to that alert. So the system is automatically creating an incident with regards to the alert that came into from the service, any history information, and how this alert was created. So what were the steps needed to create this priority? As an operator, I'm also going to want to understand how these alerts were correlated. So you notice here that the system is telling us that all these alerts came together and were added to a group alert because they matched a previously identified pattern. So again, this is how automation comes in to show us a little bit more on all those alerts that are coming in and how we start to prioritize and take action. Here within ServiceNow, we are the company of workflows. And what happens is when we want to take action, a lot of our customers are going to go to that server and reboot that system, or attach log files, or remove log files, or expand disk space, whatever the action item that they need to do and perform. Typically, it's manual. But with the workspace functionality, we're able to take action right from one screen. It kicks off a workflow. It communicates to your assets and systems to start rebooting the process, remove or attach log files, increase disk space, etc. Another thing that I want to point out here is if I am an operator, say I've been in the organization for 15 years, but I'm fairly new to the operator workspace. I don't quite know exactly what actions I need to take. With the Agent Assist, we're able to get knowledge articles on recommended actions that we should take based on the alert and the incident that has come into the system. So as an operator, I'm able to see right from here, hey, recommended action is to extend the disk partition. So at this point in time, me as an operator, if I want to get this service up and running as quickly as possible, I'm going to want to take the action to say, let's go ahead and extend that disk space. Last but not least, the insights functionality. This is where we start to capture historical data on similar alerts that have come into the system. So as an operator, I'm going to want to see if there's any other priority alerts that have come into the system with regards to this particular server, NoVWin, the Oracle server that we were looking at. Has it been closed? Is it a secondary alert? What do? I can simply drill into this alert and I'm able to see what that operator did to work on and what his remediation actions that he took in order to close out that ticket. All right, so going back into the details section here, let's go ahead and extend the disk space. When we extend the disk space, again, this is where we start to kick off that workflow. And what happens is we show you the flow, the orchestration, in other words, where we start to communicate with your server to go ahead and extend that disk space without needing someone to go into the server itself and manually do that. So what happens is this is the record of that workflow. And again, we're seeing this all from the workspace, right? This is all the actions that we took to allocate that space within that given server to go ahead and make sure that that service is up and running accordingly. All right. So from here, we're going to go back into our operator workspace. And what you notice is that order status is now in minority state. Remember, it was in high criticality. And from the operator workspace, we were able to not only understand what was causing the service to go down, what was that topology view, that service mapping view, but we were also able to take action, keep track of everything, and utilize automation. In other words, workflow, predictive intelligence, and analytics to go ahead and capture this information moving forward. All right, so two more things that I want to go over with regards to workspaces. So there are two more use cases that I want to cover. For today's demonstration, we've just covered the agent workspace, the operator workspace, and now we're going to be covering the vendor manager workspace, followed by the service portfolio management workspace as well. So what you can see here is we've logged in as Amy Morgan. Amy Morgan is going to play the two roles of a service owner and a vendor owner. We're going to drill into the vendor manager workspace. And as I mentioned, a vendor manager workspace is going to be a single place where Amy will be able to take a look at all the vendors that she works with today. If we look at all the vendors, here we're able to click and see the full list of all the vendors within her organization. She's also able to see all the vendors that she's responsible for. Now, one thing that I do want to point out is that Amy is able to view this list based on her current admin permissions. So for instance, if you don't want certain people within your organization to look at all the vendors they currently work for, those permissions can be limited. So you'll notice that one of the vendors is Acer. For this particular example, we'll go ahead and dive into that vendor that Amy is responsible for. And here we're able to see at a high level some information with regards to that vendor score and which vendor score metric model Acer is tied to. In the vendor profile, we'll go ahead and see what Acer is all about. Here, you're provided with all the information that Amy needs to be able to keep track of the overall performance of that vendor. Now, before we dive into these metrics here, I do want to highlight a couple things. So on the right-hand side here, Acer is telling us, the workspace is telling us some information with regards to Acer. Who the contact info is for that team, who is responsible for that vendor, what are the total costs of the contracts. In other words, the workspace can tie into multiple areas of the platform, and we can bring in information such as the contracts to that vendor. Another thing that I want to point out here, if we look at the total vendor score, this is going to be made up of the average performance score of the service offerings as well as the vendor satisfaction. The average performance score of the service offerings is made up of metrics such as activities, availability, breached SLAs, stability, etc. And those metrics are the ones that you see here below. Now, to the right, we also see that we're able to look at some of the metric weights associated to that vendor score. We're also able to see what service model is tied to this specific vendor, which is highlighted in blue. Now, if you drill into that specific service, you're able to see what those lower and upper score thresholds are about. You're also able to configure this based on the needs of your organization, and I'll show you how we do that. One last thing here. So when we're looking at vendors, we can also drill into contracts associated to those vendors that are tied to that particular service. And we're also able to see who the administrator is, any SLA definitions that we have associated to this vendor, and what other service offerings are related to Acer as well. All right, so scrolling down here, I just want to highlight that there are a couple of services associated to our vendor Acer. We see that there's Wi-Fi for employees, Wi-Fi for guests, and we notice that the threshold this month specifically for Wi-Fi for employees is at a low performing score. So this is something of interest to us as a service owner, or as a vendor owner, if you will. All right, so moving on here, we're going to go back into our dashboard overview, and I want to show you what the service portfolio management workspace looks like. And one of the things that is interesting about having this workspace is, again, as a service owner, we're going to want to understand what services we help run, right? So Amy is associated not only to the communication service, she's also associated to the employee portal and networking. And you notice in the vendor workspace specifically that there was some issues with regards to Wi-Fi for employees. It has a low percentage threshold. If we drill into the wireless network, again, we're able to see some key performance indicators with regards to that specific service. We're able to not only see those KPIs, but what gives us these KPIs are not only Wi-Fi for employees, but Wi-Fi for guests. So you see that the offering weights at 70%, as well as 30% for Wi-Fi for guests. These two offering weights are what make up not only the service performance score, but it makes up the customer satisfaction, the total subscribers, and it'll also tell us what that estimated spend is. Now, the reason why this is at such a low score is at the right-hand side here, we're able to see what current outages have been affected, what CI is associated to that outage, as well as when it began and ended. What is that current duration? Are there any recent outages that are related to our current outages that we have today? So in other words, what is the cause? What is the reason for our performance score to be so low with regards to Wi-Fi for employees? And again, we can take this back to our vendors and communicate this to them that they are not providing the service that we agreed upon. All right. And so when we go to the vendor home space, right, again, you'll see that it's all connected to that one specific vendor. Now, a lot of the questions is, okay, great. With the workspace functionality, we're able to see all of this information. What happens if I want to configure my key performance indicators or my thresholds? Well, we can do that right from our ServiceNow instance. So in other words, from the vendor score metric model for IT services, here we're able to see what that weight looks like, what types of metric score model indicators we have. So in other words, we can go ahead and change and edit this information depending on the needs of our organization. And if there are any additional metrics associated to IT services. When we look and we drill in specifically to a service offering, such as Wi-Fi for employees, because that's giving us a little bit lower of a percentage score, here we're able to see not only who's it owned by, if there are any contracts associated to this specific service, who's it supported by, who's that support group and delivery manager, but we're able to capture any other information, change that information if we'd like to go ahead and keep track of that service offering from here. So very easy for us to go and edit this information, configure this information to fit the needs of your organization. All right, so in summation here, we've actually covered many different types of views for workspaces. We've covered agent workspace, where they're looking at cases or incidents that have come into the system. We've looked at the operator workspace, where we're able to keep track of the services and perform remediation options and understand how that service is being impacted. We've looked at the vendor manager workspace, where we're able to keep track of all our vendors. What is their performance like? And then those specific services for those vendors. All is being done from the workspace, okay? All right, so with that being said, I'm gonna hand this back off to Jürgen to finish off, and then we'll save some time for Q&A.
Thank you very much. I never get sick of seeing those workspaces. Let's get back here. Make sure you're seeing my screen.
Yep, I can see it.
All right. You know what? Let's do another poll here, if that's all right with everyone. Oops. Get this up. And we appreciate everyone taking the time to participate in the polls. It's helpful for us to get the feedback just to make sure that the content that we're providing is actually useful. So we appreciate everyone taking a few minutes to do that. So let's see. And let's open this poll here. All right. So which workspace in ServiceNow could be the most valuable to either you or your organization? So, and hopefully you saw at least the utility of the tool and how that might apply to you or potentially colleagues that you work with. We've got some polls coming in here. Much appreciated. And again, this is one of my favorite aspects of the platform. Love to talk about it. I love to show it. We'll take a 30 more seconds here. Give everyone a chance to answer, and then we'll close out the poll and move on here. All right, I think we got the answers that we needed. Thank you everyone for participating. In the interest of time, let's move on to next steps. So, of course, first and foremost, if you have an immediate need for anything you saw, please reach out to your account team to set up an in-depth discussion around, specifically what you need, and they can put together a plan for you. Here are a number of resources that are available. We will be sending this deck out to you with links to all of this information. But I did want to highlight two resources that I think are especially valuable. One, first, a Now Learning course. This is 9 minutes. It's a great hands-on overview of the tool. So if you're more of a tactile learner, this is a great way to kind of, maybe while you're sipping on a coffee or something like that, click through and learn a little bit more about the workspace and get a sense of the user experience. And then if you're maybe more of an auditory learner, if you haven't subscribed to our Tech Bites podcast, these are great. I don't know if you're washing dishes or just sort of prefer absorbing information through a set of headphones. These are really great, engaging, fun conversations about the capabilities, and I found them particularly helpful. Last piece, a great interactive resource. Feel free to reach out to our Demo Center team either through Twitter or at, I believe, democenter at ServiceNow.com if you want to talk to a real person and start a more in-depth conversation about the capabilities. All right, so we've got 10 minutes to spare, but we will take that time and see if we have any questions coming in. I don't think we have any in the chat here, but yeah, no. All right, if anyone on the line wants to come off mute and ask a question, feel free. I will say that I remember when I first saw the Workspaces, I didn't have any questions because it's such an elegant solution that I was like, oh no, of course it should work like this. Why wouldn't it work like this? So I remember just being impressed, feeling like it was a really intuitive utility, and it wasn't until I dug in a little bit more that I had some questions. So let me give everyone a little bit, another 30 seconds or so to collect their thoughts. See if anyone has any questions. All right. I will take silence as satisfaction. So I hope everyone took away a little something from this webinar. Hopefully you all have had a chance to participate in the other webinars about our ITSM Pro capabilities. It's really exciting extension of our industry-leading ITSM platform. And for those of you in the throes of your digital transformation journey for running IT more efficiently, effectively, there's a lot to offer, a lot to explore. So again, feel free to reach out to your account teams or to us through Demo Center. And thank you again for your participation. And Blake, thank you for an excellent demo. I learned a lot. I always learn something every time I see him, so I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.